What on earth is Brexit? Brexit is a portmanteau which means two words put together. In this case, it is Britain and exit, which becomes Brexit. Brexit is the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union. There was held a referendum for Brexit in 2016 on June the 23rd. A referendum means a vote in which all the people in the country or an area are asked to give their opinion about or decide an important political question or social question. I will now introduce you to four concepts that will help you understand some more about Brexit. Firstly, we have Article 50. Article 50 allows any member state to leave the European Union. Then we have a Brexiteer. A Brexiteer is someone who is in favor of leaving the EU. Then we have a transition period. It is the period of time between the date the United Kingdom leaves the EU and when all the agreements are fully implemented. Then we have single market. It allows free movement within the EU for people, goods, services and money. It is also one of the downsides to leaving the EU, but there is a good thing because there is custom unions which allows members of the EU plus Turkey, Andorra, San Marino and Monaco to trade together without tariffs. When leaving the EU, Britain can choose between three options. A hard Brexit will see United Kingdom cut its ties with the EU completely. For example, custom unions and single market as mentioned before. A soft Brexit will see the United Kingdom leave some parts of the EU depending on the agreements made. And no deal Brexit means no agreement between the British government and the EU, which will see the United Kingdom leave the EU immediately. So in short, hard Brexit is leaving huge parts of EU, and soft Brexit, here we can have some more agreements, and no deal Brexit is without any deals made. But why would the UK leave the EU, you might ask yourself? One answer might lay in their history. The British Empire once was very great. Let's look at how they become so great. In 1497, the British Empire actually didn't exist. But England was the biggest and most powerful country, and they controlled the Isle of Man, some parts of Ireland, Wales, and the rest of Ireland and Scotland was independent. Henry VII was an English king. He wanted better trading systems for England and did what everyone else at the time did. He hired an Italian. This Italian was called Giovanni Cebato. Giovanni wanted to find a northern route to China, but ended up in North America. This was also where English army shot down many of the Native Americans. Later on, Henry VII died, and Henry VIII took his place. He incorporated Wales and gave it representation in Parliament. Then Mary I took the crown. She made some Irish plantation, which sure lands belonging to Irish laws confiscated and given to the English for settlement. Around this time, Spain also was held by the Netherlands, and England was more than happy to help undermine Spain's power. So they gave the Dutch shelter for the ships in England, as long as they would plunder the Spanish ships on their way home. One of the more successful privateers was Francis Drake, who claimed some lands in what is now known as California, which we can see on the map on the right. And England also sent some explorers out in the world, and an English explorer called Walter Raleigh set up a colony in North America. Then we have Elizabeth, and we also have James I. That set up some more Irish plantations, and England just kept expanding until they ruled over this much land, as we can see on the picture here. Pretty neat. Some of the Englishmen might even miss those times, which leads me on to my next point, which is imperial nostalgia. I found kinda two definitions of this word. They can kinda be combined into one word. It means that when Englishmen think of their prime or their greatness, they only remember all the good things rather than the bad things that happened, such as slavery and allowing pirates into their country. In the other case, it is being nostalgic over England's greatness. So in this case, it is the hope for a return to a powerful global Britain. Let's now look at some statistics. 59% of the middle social class voted to leave the European Union, and there was also more rich people who voted for staying in the EU than poor. Some poor people wanted things shaken up, so they might not be poor anymore. But that the lower class matters this much is fantasy. Almost everywhere in England, a majority voted to leave, except in the areas where the rich people live, which is on this map right here. Another reason might be that since 2012, the life expectancy of elderly women began to fall. The numbers got worse in 2013, and in 2015, 52,400 people died, which is the largest number of mortalities since the Second World War. And to get this issue fixed, they would need more money in health service department. And to be exactly, if they want to have as good as a health service as Germany, they will have to spend £1 billion more every week. Money that the elderly hope the United Kingdom would be willing to invest after leaving the EU, which is at the time being a part of the EU, doesn't allow for. There's also some consequences of Brexit. Liz Puck, for example, says in an interview that she thinks there could be a civil war if Brexit doesn't happen. The country has used its voice, and that the government can't ignore it. Usama Mutakin says people are feeling empowered by the Brexit. They think they can intimidate you by saying things like "go back to your country," which begs the question if people who voted to leave the EU are racist, because EU are pushing England to a direction of taking in more immigrants. But a reporter from The Guardian found out that there were a trend with that in places where immigrants stayed back, the people there are fine with immigrants, but it is in areas where immigrants recently have come there is an issue. Another consequence that could happen is about Scotland. In 2014, Scotland held a referendum about if Scotland should become an independent country. 55% voted no, and 45% voted yes. The reasoning behind this outcome was fear. Fear of the economy wasn't strong enough, and that jobs were at risk, and that EU ties would be completely cut. But as we can see on the picture in the bottom left corner, a majority of Scotland voted to remain in EU. So now Scotland are reconsidering their decision in 2014. Nicola Sturgeon is leading this case, and since she started bargaining on behalf of Scotland, her political party has skyrocketed from 25,000 people mid-September 2014 to 115,000 in April 2016. But the concern for the Scottish economy still remains, because 64% of Scotland's international exports go to the UK, and they might be worried if they can still trade with the UK. That was all I had for now.